Hello and welcome. My name is Shadow Retro, and today I'm very excited to be back in the first Descendant. It was a bit ago when I did my first Descendant video, and I am now just shy of 100 hours into the game. I have like 95 hours, and I have finally got to the hard mode in the game. The reason why it took me so long is because I committed to doing it with a friend, and we had a great time doing it together. It's just because of different time zones and living on different sides of the planet to each other, it was occasionally hard to actually plan time to actually grind the game out together. So it did take a while for us to get through it. Nonetheless, now I'm finally at the end, late game, end game, whatever you want to call it, and I am finally started to pick up some of the high level items and experience what the late game has to offer. And I said in my last video, when I get up to this point, I would do another review video with some revised thoughts or some additional thoughts, and that is what I'm here to do today. So while my last review video was directly comparing it to Warframe, this review will be more of a proper, specific first Descendant review, and I will make comparisons to Warframe, but it won't be as specifically comparing it to Warframe. The first things I would like to talk about some of the stuff that I talked about in my previous review video, well, not really review, impression video, my previous impression video on potential opinions of mine that may have changed. Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about the engaging gameplay comment that I made in my previous video. So I made a claim that First Descendant has a much better engaging content. The gunplay feels a lot nicer. You actually feel like you want to switch between which gun you're using and actually think about what guns you're bringing to missions and that kind of vibes. Now, while I stand by this, not to the extreme that which I was saying in the video that I was in my previous video. Because comparatively to Warframe, yes, the gameplay is much more engaging. However, the game is very easy. It's not Warframe easy, Warframe is much easier, but you could actually make the argument that Warframe is more difficult, because while Warframe challenges you to actually be able to think about what you're building, the first Descendant doesn't. The gameplay footage I am showing you right now is done with this build on my Thunder Cage. I do have an energy reactor in it. And this build on my Valby, I don't have an energy activator in it. I don't even have like half completed builds. Like you can see, I have mod slots missing. Mods aren't fully ranked up. Like I'm basically playing with a glass half empty, half full, whatever kind of setup I'm going here, and I have no trouble, basically, right? And Warframe, while the game is easy, it does require you to actually have at least somewhat decent builds, and to do that, you actually need to know how to build. And if you don't know how to build, or know how to copy and paste a Warframe YouTuber's build, don't use Overframe, then you're probably going to struggle in Steel Path. So you could actually make the claim that Warframe is harder because of that. But overall, you get to the point in Warframe where you just get so powerful that the game is literally brain dead, because the items in the game go far higher than what the items at least appear to in the first Descendant. But yes, the game is very easy. You really don't need to have like any proper builds to really beat the game, to really go through and do the game. But and additionally, I did say in my last video that you want to really consider what kind of weapons you're bringing. This isn't true either. While you may want to consider bringing a long range weapon like a scout rifle or a sniper, and I definitely would recommend them as they're both very good to have around. You don't really need to use them very often, especially if you're just going to run up to enemies like I would on Valby or Bunny or another Descendant similar. You can literally just use the same weapon for everything, right? You can just invest all your cards in one weapon, and that weapon should be fine and carry you through. And I've done that with Thunder Cage. So yeah, the game is very easy, and I'm not, well, not very easy, but the game is relatively easy, and I'm not necessarily complaining about that. If anything, it's a good thing, because it is more engaging than Warframe, and I do enjoy the better gun feel that this game has compared to Warframe, but it is still pretty chill and pretty relaxed, which honestly is kind of more my playstyle anyway. However, the game still does have its challenges. There are a few Colossi boss fights that actually have mechanics, interesting mechanics to their fight, that you need to pay attention and actually like coordinate with your teammates of what you're doing, or you will get team wiped. There's a few of them. I know Hangman has one. Gluttony has one. I think Frostwalker has one as well. And if you're not paying attention, if you not know what you're doing, and if you don't, at least someone coordinate with the team, the boss will team wipe you. Something that Warframe doesn't have at all, which is like actual coordination or like actual interesting mechanics when it comes to boss fights, because even Eidolon's, Warframe's best content, if you ask me, not just best example of a boss fight, but Warframe's best content, even they are brain dead and don't need any thought of actual interesting mechanics. It's just a matter of needing to get all the items you need for it, because it is a gigantic gear check. Yeah, I do say the game isn't as difficult as I may have thought it would be. Or difficult at all. The game is easier than I thought it would have gone to be, but it is still definitely a much more engaging gameplay than Warframe's is. So I'm kind of half taking back that comment, but not fully. The next thing I want to talk about is the end game farm. Now, I made a comment that's saying the end game farm seems to be hard. It's not. It's not hard, but it's pretty easy. Like, if we take the example of catalysts, in every ultimate amorphous that has a catalyst in it, the drop chance on a catalyst will be 20%. And on every epic or purple amorphous, like regular amorphous that has a catalyst, it will be 15%. This seems low, and if you were to compare it to Former, which have around a 25% as common, or as an uncommon, I think it is 11%, which gets up to 20% if it's a Radiant Relic. So it is a worse drop chance than Former, as Catalyst Blueprints are this game's variation Former, but it's still a pretty easy thing to get. Even before I got to the hard mode, just by doing random Colossi, literally not even farming Colossi, but like just doing the Colossi through the story, I walked away with 4 Catalyst Blueprints. And the story also gives you 2 Catalysts for free, so even before I got to the hard mode, I ended up having 6 Catalysts. And like, it's now that I'm at hard mode and I have an even better drop rate, like, it's really not that bad. Activators, on the other hand, have only a 6% drop rate. Even with the Ottomans, they have a 3% drop rate on the normal ones. Activators are this game's version of Orokin Reactors or Catalysts. But they can be up to 10% if with a stabilizer. Now, that seems really bad, but when you consider Orokin Reactors and Catalysts, they also actually have a terrible drop rate in Warframe. Because you either have to be lucky enough for it to be in a alert or an invasion, which rarely happens, or the only other way to get them is through sorties and Archon Hunts, which have a low drop rate because of the reward pool being diluted by quite a bit. Additionally, Archon Hunts can only be done once a week, so you only have one chance of getting it once a week from an Archon Hunt, and sorties are only once a day. And that's it, right? You can buy reactors from both Nightwave and also the Delivery Shop, which does make them a lot easier to get. But comparatively, the the activators are kind of easier to get, like excluding Nightwave and the Delivery Shop. Activators are kind of easier to get, like with their drop rates, because they don't have like a once a day lock like reactors and catalysts do in Warframe. But like, still, I have yet to actually have an energy activator drop on me, but it doesn't seem to be that bad. As far as Ultimate Descendants go, which is the other big grind in this game, depending on which one you're after, it could be really easy or it could be a bit more difficult. For example, Ultimate Valby, which is the newest one, her worst drop rate is 20%. I think Bunny is another decently easier one to get, and I think her worst drop rate is 10% for her code. I'm not sure, but I think stuff like Ajax and some of the other Ultimate Descendants do have worse drop rates. But like, again, it's not that bad. A lot of people complaining about the drop chances in this game, but I don't think people understand how random chance works. If something says 10%, that's not a 1 in 10 chance, as in if you do it 10 times, you'll 100% get it. It's every time you do the mission, it is a 10%, meaning every time you do it, it's a 1 in 10. So doing it twice is a 2 in 20. Doing it 3 times is a 3 in 30, and so on and so on and so on. It's not like your odds increase the more you do it. Your odds stay the same. Statistically, you're more likely to get it if you run it multiple times, because you run it multiple times, and obviously if you have 2 chances at a 10% drop, you're more likely to get it than having a 1 chance at a 10% drop. But you're also statistically more likely to not get it, because if you have a 2 chance at not getting a 10% drop, you're more likely to get it than not a 2 chance, than 1 chance at a 10% drop. Than not getting. Okay, I got tongue twisted a bit, but you get what I mean, right? Like the thing is, it's every time you do it, it's that much. Like I don't think people know how percent works. If I'm being honest, like it's luck. It's literally just luck. It's not some secret crazy nonsense that's hiding in the code. It's literally like every time you do it, you have to get a 10% to get the thing you want, or a 5%, 6%, whatever, right? But yeah, the end game grind doesn't seem too bad. It definitely seems worse than Warframe, which is a good thing because Warframe's is too easy. But it doesn't seem too bad, which is good. I think it has a good balance. The monetization of the game is still way too bad, way too much though, like way too much. And a lot of the stuff I said about the monetization in this game in my last video, I stand by that, so I'll leave that in the last video. So if you're interested in that, go check out my last video. Moving on to new things, though, that I didn't talk about in my last video. First of all, I want to talk about components. This is something I completely forgot to mention in my last video. I was going to, but I forgot to mention them. I love this. I love the idea of these so much. Okay, so for context, the reason why I love Warframe so much is because I love when, like, things work together and have, like, different synergies and, like, multiple different things work together to create one goal. I love that. That's something that just hits in my brain when something like that happens, like when synergy like that happens. And this game does the same thing, obviously, because the modding system is very similar to Warframe, literally copy and paste. But it has components. And you could liken these to Archon shards. That's probably what the closest thing to Warframe has. But, like, it has components. And these components are really cool. And the reason why I love them isn't just for the main stat, like the max HP, max defense, whatever, but mostly for the substats. Because each one of these components have a substat. And they can give you more HP, fire resistance, character gain modifier, HP recovery modifier, max shield, sieve display time, which is a thing I'm not going to talk about, electricity resistance. Like, it gives you all the stats. And I don't have a perfected loadout because right now I'm just trying to get good components for, like, generic builds, and then when I actually start making out a proper build for my Descendants, I'll get, like, more specific loadouts. But, like, you can get things that you won't need to mod for on your Warframe. Like, on your Reactor, you can get things like cooldown reduction or range or stuff like that. Like, they increase what you have to your build. Like, they add on to your build and they work really well, and I love that. There's something about that just clicks with me. And, like, yeah, Archon shards do the same thing, but, like, each one of these is the main stat plus 3 substats, which is 4 times 3, which is 12. That's right. So 12 stats from each one of these things, right? Where with Archon shards, you get 5. So, like, it's just more things makes me more excited, is basically the long and short of that one. So I really love the components, and even there are some components that are, like, a part of sets, and set components when used together give additional buffs as well. So, like, I really love that. I think it's a really cool part, an additional part to the modding system in this game, and I really love it. Speaking more on the modding system in this game, I want to talk about crits. So in Warframe, I've gotten so used to how critical hits work in Warframe. Again, I'm not making this comparison to Warframe. I'm just using Warframe to contextualize things, right? In Warframe, I've got so used to the way crits work in Warframe that when I get a weapon, I expect to be giving, like, 60% at a minimum. And, like, I can take a weapon to 300% crit chance pretty easily, right? Like, crit is, like, a baseline default thing you have on, like, every build, and if you're not critting, it's not a good build, basically, right? That's just so different in this game, because even if you look at, yes, it's not fully ranked up, but, like, this is a rank 5 out of rank 10 crit hit rate increase mod, and it's a 19%. And I think at max it's like 30% or something. And, like, few weapons, especially fast firing weapons like Thunder Cage, actually have a good critical hit rate as base, and a crit viable weapons. Like the Tamer is another one. It's a machine gun, and its crit hit rate, I believe, is 10%. and that's not really viable for critting. So not every weapon in the game is a crit weapon. In fact, I believe most aren't crit hit weapons, especially for the fast firing ones. The slow firing ones generally have pretty great crit rates, but the fast ones generally have pretty shit ones, actually. So it's just so different to me, where it's like, I expect to get a weapon and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna crit crazy because that's how you do in Warframe. But like, it's critting is more of a commodity in this game. It's like more of a special thing, like that extra bit of bonus when it hits. Ooh, awesome kind of vibes, which it really isn't in Warframe, which I feel like this game is more similar to what most games have it, where crit is like that extra special hit you get, not just something you would take for granted. Speaking of that, though, generically, the whole modding system in this game, although obviously the core basics of it is just a copy and paste, the way you would mod a weapon, I feel like it's very different, and the way you would want to consider a weapon. Like, I have 2 firearm attack mods on this weapon. You would never do that in Warframe. In fact, I wouldn't even mod for base damage, which is basically what firearm attack is, in Warframe, because you would have the Acolyte Arcanes, right? And like in Warframe, I would basically just throw a multi-shot, crit chance, crit damage, fire rate, and faction damage for raw damage builds. For status effect builds, I normally just run the elements list instead. Status effects builds probably have some form of status chance, and then also, I think that's it. But like, I would just throw that on most builds in Warframe, and I wouldn't even give it a second thought, because most builds in Warframe are basically just copy and pastes of each other. This game is, and yes, I'm still newer to the modding system, and I'm not saying this is a good build. I don't know if it's a good build. But this game is different. Like, weak point damage, that's something I would never even think of modding for in Warframe if it existed. I don't think it does. But this game actually makes me try to hit headshots, which is something I hate doing in Warframe. And, like, it's just a different modding system. For example, the elemental mods, you can only have one, and they create a second damage instance. And if you have one of your substats on your weapon as a second element, you have 3 damage instances. 3 damage instances that can all crit. However, only the main physical damage of the weapon is affected by weak spot damage. And like, all this different stuff, like, it is different in the way it works. And I really enjoy that, because, like I said, I like when things are like complicated and weird like that, and like a bunch of different things like work together and synergize together. It makes me excited, and this game has made me really excited to play it, mostly because it's new. And that's a feeling I used to really get with Warframe that I've started to stop getting as much. And it's because I've just been playing the game for 5 years, and I have like close to 2,000 hours or some crap like that. I'm just getting used to the game, and it stops exciting me as much. And this game is new, so I'm getting back that feeling that I used to have with Warframe, and it's really cool because the modding system is different, and like, it requires a different way of thinking than you would in Warframe, which I really appreciate. That said, I still love Warframe. I love Warframe more than this game. Warframe is still my favorite game above this game, but I've really enjoyed playing this game. Now, I've been giving it a lot of praise. I want to talk about something that I will not praise the game for. That's its terrible user interface. Okay, side tangent on the user interface. Say I want to look at my inventory and my Descendants and my consumables, customization, battle pass, shop. All this stuff is in one menu, right? And then I go to a different menu if I want to view my socials, invite people to a party, look at quests, access information. Even just the fact that this is in a different menu annoys the crap out of me, because sometimes I will want to get to access info and I'll click this menu and I'm like, oh, now I have to go out of it and go to this one, and then I can get to access info. Like, it's just, even that just annoys the crap out of me, where in Warframe, if you click the pause button, you have everything in one spot. It's crazy. Who would have thought? Furthermore, this game's user interface continues to be bad with this crap here. What this is the applied effect of the mods. For example, if we take the critical hit rate, I'm increasing it by 19, right? If we click tab, we will then actually see what the improved stats of my actual critical hit rate and stuff like that. And then we can go here and click this button down here, the go to info button. So on keyboard it's W, and then we can see what it is for our Descendant, what it is for our different guns and all that stuff. It just bugs me that like you have to like jump through hoops, click multiple buttons, and like do different things just to see basic information. Yeah, it's just like, Why do I have to go through so many different things? And like, if I want to change my Descendant, I have to come over to the Descendant menu. But then if I want to change my guns, I just click on this. It's like, and then you would think that you would mod your Descendant in the Descendant menu, but no, you mod your Descendant in this menu down here. And then there's this button, which is weapon list, and I don't know why you would ever look at that, because you can just look at this and you get the weapon list. And sure, it doesn't show you all the weapons in the game, but you also have this fun menu right here that... Hold on. Oh my gosh, it's all the weapons in the game. Oh no, this is only ultimate weapons. Never mind, I take that one back. But like, it's I don't know, it's just a mess. Like, it is honestly just a mess. But it's okay. Anyway, that's really all I have to say about this game. This is probably a bit of a shorter video than my last one was, half the time, wow. But yeah, overall, I've been really enjoying the game. It's quite different to Warframe in a lot of ways. Obviously, it has a lot of similarities, but it is quite different to Warframe in a lot of ways. And I love it for its differences. Like, it's a different game, and I really enjoy both this game and Warframe for many different reasons. I'm not saying this game is perfect. It has its issues, of course. But, like, I really enjoyed this game, and I am excited to make more videos on it, actually. I'm going to be making more videos on this game in my channel. I'll be still doing mostly Warframe, I believe, but I want to be making some videos, like build videos on Valby. Ultimate Valby is going to be really my first thing I'm going for on hard mode, and once I actually start to make a proper build for her, I hope to be making a video for that on my channel. So I'm really excited to get into this game more on my channel, and I'm glad that I'm here now and I can actually start doing that. So that's really all I have for this video. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a like and subscribe. If you like Warframe, definitely watch some of my other content. If you don't know about Warframe, check it out. It is a phenomenal game. But if you do know about, and if you've played First Descendant and you don't know about Warframe, I'd recommend my last video, my first impression review on First Descendant, because I go in a lot more detail about how First Descendant compares to Warframe, so you'll get to learn more about Warframe from that video, so I recommend that video. I'll leave it in the description down below. And if you don't play Warframe but you do like First Descendant, also consider giving it a subscribe. I don't have a lot of First Descendant videos on my channel right now, but like I said, I do intend to be making more, so you can stick around if you're just a First Descendant player, not a Warframe player, and only interested in the First Descendant videos. That's fine. Anyway, until next time. Bye-bye.